Hello, I'm David from fabulousflights.co.uk. Welcome to this live video. Today I'm going to talk about how to get great value fares to destinations that don't usually have cheap long-haul flights available. So, for example, I know that I in the past, and also a lot of people who have written emails to me, have had a situation where you want to go to somewhere which is maybe a little bit off the usual tourist trail or doesn't have a huge number of flights arriving at it. And therefore, the cost of getting a flight from the UK to a destination is quite a bit higher than getting a flight generally to the area that I'll be travelling to. So I'm going to go through today how I approach this situation and how I find great value fares and reduce the overall cost of my trip by finding great fares to my destination. So the first thing I do is, if I'm looking, for example, for a flight, I'm going to use an example of a flight from Manchester to Luang Prabang in Laos. Now, Luang Prabang in Laos it's not got a huge number of flights. It's got a decent number of flights, but not a huge number of flights, not a huge number of international flights. And so I will always have to make a connection on my flight from the UK to Luang Prabang. And when I have a look at the price of flights from the UK to Luang Prabang, they're probably around about £600 return plus, depending on which time of year you actually want to go. £600 return plus for a return flight to Southeast Asia, in my opinion, probably isn't great value because there are a lot of other fares that go to other places, for example, Bangkok, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, which I can get for a lot less money. So what I always do when I'm looking at going to a destination where the cost of the flights seems a lot higher than I would expect to pay, is I actually focus, instead of focusing on getting to the final destination, in the case of this example, Luang Prabang, I focus on getting to an airport in the region that I want to travel to. So Luang Prabang is in Laos, Southeast Asia. So what I'd focus on here is getting to an airport in Southeast Asia cheaply, so that I can get the longest part of the journey, the longest flight, for the cheapest price possible, and then find separately another flight between the airport that I arrive in Southeast Asia and Luang Prabang, and see if I actually can save a bit of money by doing that. I've got a quick example I want to just go through with you now so you can see how this actually works in practice. So I was using the example there of Luang Prabang. Fantastic place. If you've never visited Luang Prabang before, never been to Laos before, put it onto your list. It really is well worth the trip. Very chilled out, beautiful place to visit. So if I want to go to Luang Prabang, I'm just going to switch over to my browser so you can see what I'm doing on the flight search now. Hopefully this will work. So you can see me there. So right, okay. So this is a flight search I've just done a few moments ago from Manchester to Luang Prabang in February, and you can probably see that the cheapest return flight is £691 return, which doesn't seem particularly cheap for a return flight to Southeast Asia. Excuse me. If I have a look and use the method that I always use to find cheap long-haul flights by looking at the calendar in Google Flights, I can see that the prices don't really drop around the dates that I'm looking for here. The prices are around about 650 to 700 plus return from Manchester to London. So what I can do, I can actually have a look and see if I can get this fare down by flying by buying a ticket to one of the long-haul gateways in Southeast Asia, and then buying a ticket from that gateway to Luang Prabang. So what I did earlier is I did a quick search for flights from Manchester to Bangkok, and instead of 691 return, the flights from Manchester to Bangkok for pretty much the same dates were coming up at, there we go, 425 return. So that's quite a bit of a saving that you can see going to Bangkok instead of going to Luang Prabang. But, of course, I don't want to go to Bangkok. I actually want to go to Luang Prabang. So what I do now is I actually go into Skyscanner and look for flights between Bangkok and Luang Prabang. So I've done this search before here for similar dates. So I think I'm going to arrive on my flight from Manchester is on the 5th of Feb. I actually arrive into Bangkok on the 6th of Feb. So I'll have my flight from Bangkok to Luang Prabang on the 7th of Feb, which I've got here. and I'll also have my flight back from Luang Prabang to Bangkok on the 18th of Feb to connect with the flight I've got going out. And you can see here the cheapest flight I could find on a Skyscanner, this is just random dates I chose to go with the flights, the long haul flights that I had, was £118 return. Now this is with Lao Airlines. I'm not entirely sure if that includes checked bags or not. Let's say it doesn't. I need to add checked bags on. I need to check this to make sure. So let's say it goes up to £150, £160 return for this flight by the time I've had checked bags on. This is sort of the worst case scenario. So if I did this, £150, £160 return, added on to my flight of 425, that's going to take me up to about £570 return, more or less. Of course, this flight price will actually come down a little bit when I do the search with these dates in Kayak or Skyscanner or Momondo, as I have outlined in other videos and other training I've done. So I can probably get this flight for, certainly for £570, probably a little bit less than £570 return. £570 return is actually a lot better for me than what I was going to be paying, which is £690 return. Again, this price here would come down when I do the search in with the same dates in Kayak or Skyscanner or Momondo. But if we just do the search, the comparisons, Google Flights, they're going to be probably quite similar, the differences between the flight prices between Google Flights and the other search engines. So £690 return compared to around about £570 return. You can see I've saved around about £100 return already there, just by spending a few minutes doing a search for flight to Bangkok and then a separate search for the flight to Luang Prabang, instead of having it all combined on one ticket. One thing to note about this, you probably saw when I was looking at the dates there, that I actually had an overnight stay planned there in Bangkok on my outward journey and also on my return journey. This is something that I always build into itineraries and trips that I'm actually doing, where I've got two separate tickets booked. What I don't want to happen is I don't want to have any problems with my flight between Bangkok and Luang Prabang caused by a delay on the flight from Manchester to Bangkok. Because they're two separate tickets, there's no relation between those tickets. The airline wouldn't, on the Bangkok Luang Prabang route, wouldn't actually do anything if the flight from Manchester to Bangkok was delayed. And likewise on the return journey, I want to make sure that I actually do catch my flight from Bangkok back to Manchester. So I want to make sure that I spend a good few hours, preferably overnight, in Bangkok on the return journey, so that actually you can make sure that any problems with the flights don't cause problems with my connection. That does mean, of course, it does mean you don't spend, in this case, at least 2 nights in Bangkok, but it does mean that I actually get to explore Bangkok. It could be a city I've not explored before. It could be a city that I actually want to go back and see more of and see, spend a little bit more time in on my journey. So I actually get sort of like an extra journey, an extra trip on my journey for the same price. So this is how I reduce the price of a trip where I'm going to a destination where the price of buying one ticket from the UK to the destination seems to be very, very high. I just buy a ticket, just look for a ticket to a gateway airport in the same region, and then buy a separate ticket from that gateway airport to my final destination. Remember to build in time between the two tickets, between the two flights. If you would like to see more of the great value long haul flights that I find every week, you can sign up for free for my long haul flight alerts. Just go to fabulousflights.co.uk. I think the link is either above this video or below this video as well. And I will start sending you free flight alerts for long haul destinations from the UK every week. Hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll see you again for another video very soon. Bye for now.